I grew up believing my father died in a fire on a frozen Wyoming highway. That belief shaped my entire life. His name was Michael Reynolds, and to me, for almost 30 years, he was a memory frozen in time, a man in faded photographs, a voice I could barely remember, a closed casket at a funeral I didn't fully understand because I was only 11. The night the police came to our house, everything changed. My mother's scream still lives somewhere deep in my bones. They told us his truck jackknifed during a snowstorm, collided with another rig, and burst into flames. They said there were no survivors. They said it was quick. They always say that. After that, our house felt quieter, heavier. My mom stopped humming while she cooked. She worked double shifts at the hospital and came home exhausted, emotionally and physically. I learned not to ask for things. I learned to read her face and know when to stay silent. Birthdays were smaller. Christmases felt forced. My father became a story we didn't tell often because it hurt too much. When my mom finally passed away from cancer when I was 27, I thought that chapter of my life was completely closed. I was wrong. Last October, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, I found an envelope mixed in with bills and grocery store flyers. No return address, just my name, written slowly, unevenly, like the hand had trembled while writing it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting, no explanation, just one sentence written in blue ink. "If you're Daniel Reynolds, I think I'm your father." I read it 3 times, then laughed out loud, a sharp, disbelieving laugh. It had to be a scam or a sick joke. My father had been dead since 1996. There were police reports, a death certificate, a funeral. You don't come back from that. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. At the bottom of the page was a phone number with an Arizona area code. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Then I took it out again, then put it back. For 2 days, I barely slept. On the 3rd night, after my kids were in bed and my wife was watching TV, I went out to the garage and closed the door behind me. I dialed the number before I could change my mind. It rang twice, 3 times. Then someone answered. "Hello?" His voice sounded old, worn down. "My name is Daniel," I said. There was a pause, so long I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard a shaky breath. "Danny?" he whispered. No one had called me that in decades. My knees actually buckled. I sat down on the cold concrete floor, my back against the tool cabinet. He started talking fast, like he was afraid I'd hang up. He told me he hadn't died in that fire. He told me he'd been pulled from the wreckage, barely alive, with severe burns and a traumatic brain injury. He said the fire destroyed his wallet, his license, everything that proved who he was. While he was unconscious, another victim had been identified as him by mistake. By the time he was coherent enough to understand what had happened, the paperwork was done. The world had already buried Michael Reynolds. He tried to fix it, he said, but he didn't know where he was. He didn't even know what year it was. Hospitals discharged him. Shelters took him in. Painkillers turned into addiction. Days turned into years. He drifted from state to state, doing manual labor, sleeping in his truck when he had one, on sidewalks when he didn't. Sometimes he remembered having a son. Sometimes he couldn't remember his own name. When he finally got sober in his late 50s, he started searching for pieces of his past. That's when he found my name online. We met 2 weeks later at a diner outside Phoenix. I arrived early and sat where I could see the door. When he walked in, I recognized him instantly, and not at all. He was thinner, scarred, moving carefully, like his body ached constantly. But his eyes were the same, the exact same shade of gray-blue I saw every morning in the mirror. He stood there awkwardly, unsure if he was allowed to approach me. I stood up too. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. He finally said, "I didn't know if you'd come." I didn't know if you were real. We talked for hours about my childhood, about my mom, about the nights he slept outside in the desert thinking he deserved it. When I told him my mother had died believing she was a widow, he put his head down on the table and cried like a man who had been holding everything inside for decades. A DNA test confirmed the truth a week later. He was my father, alive, scarred, changed forever. Now he lives nearby. He's learning how to be a grandfather, how to sit through family dinners without panicking, how to exist in a quiet house without feeling like something bad is about to happen. My kids climb into his lap like it's the most natural thing in the world. Sometimes I catch him watching them with tears in his eyes, like he's afraid the moment will vanish if he blinks. I still grieve the father I thought I lost. I grieve the man he might have been if that fire had truly ended his story instead of twisting it into something unrecognizable. But I also understand something now. Life doesn't always follow neat endings. Sometimes it leaves people behind. Sometimes it brings them back when you least expect it. And sometimes, against all logic and all odds, the dead find their way home.